Awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much, man, again for hopping on today. Um, let's kind of do like a summary of how your journey has been the last 2 or 3 years in the overage world. What are some, if you wouldn't mind, kind of sharing maybe some wins or some losses and lessons learned and things that people can take away from if they're looking to get into the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's an honor to be on. It's cool to see how many people are students of yours that have gone on to do really well in this space. Over the years that I've got a chance to talk to different people, it's interesting to see how many people have taken other courses, learn from other people, but how well known that you have become. I think one of the biggest reasons is that people really like that you're just simple, straightforward, no hype. Um, you get done the things that you say that you're going to get done, and you provide really good information. And we can maybe talk about that a little bit later as well. So that's been cool for me to see it. So kudos and hats off for you for creating what you've created.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate
Yeah,
you.
yeah. What's crazy is uh, as I kind of look back over the last 4 years for me, because that's when you and I first met. I interviewed you for uh, somebody else's program, and that's when I we very first met for the first time, and you explained what overages were, and transparently, it all just went over my head. Like I do not understand how this works at all. And then reconnecting, and you came on a summit that my partner and I at the time were putting on a virtual summit, and you explained a little bit more about overages. And at the end of our summit, interviewing about a dozen or so people, uh, my partner at the time, Matt, came back and said, I think if there's one thing we should take a serious look at as far as something that could be like a side hustle that we could focus on, it would be this overages thing. So, long story short, went through the course, and um, I don't know if this is good or bad, but I never went through the entire course. Before I started making phone calls to leads, I had literally watched probably like 30 minutes of your course because I was like, I just want to go and do this. So that was not my best. That was not my best idea, but that's kind of, I guess I'm more of the shoot, aim, fire type of a person. I want to just take action and get into it and learn as I go. So that was fall of 2021, I believe, is when we really started going after it. I actually quit everything else that I was doing in December of 2021. I went full-time overages, which I don't recommend anybody do. I think our first check came like our first significant check was like March. So we knew there was going to be a gap of 3, 4, 5 months between a deal being signed to it getting paid out. But looking back, I would have not done that. I would have kept doing something for income. But at the same time, when you kind of burn the boats, there can be advantages to that to going full tilt. Um,
If you don't mind, talk about why you don't recommend that. Because I am 100% in agreement with you on that, which is funny because I did the exact same thing you did. I quit my job and dove into this full time. And I'll share my reasons, but share your reasons why you don't recommend that to someone.
um, because there's ups and downs in the business. As an entrepreneur, anything that you're going to be doing, there's going to be there's less stability in that thing, especially as you're just getting going and learning some stuff or learning everything. So I think I didn't come from a place of desperation. I think a lot of people do when it's like I need to close the deal, I need to close the deal. I think that's a disadvantage. I didn't have that in that specific period of my life, but the inconsistency of deals coming through and some deals falling off and things like that, especially if you have a family, I think it's better if you can do something that's going to provide consistent income while you're figuring out how to get this off the ground. That's that's my advice, even though I did not do that.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree 100% because it is very stressful. And if you are
Yeah.
coming from a place of desperation, that shows through to your prospects, and that's not a good place to be. And especially if you're brand new to it too. Like I guess I had an advantage. I had done some deals before I dove into it full time, but I did not know if it was going to be viable. Like I really didn't know if it was going to replace my job income. And I didn't know for almost a year before I was like, okay, this can work. Because yeah, like so I quit my job in 2017, the fall. And by the end of 2018, I'd made over 100 grand, which I doubled my salary. But what needs to be stressed is that 75% of my income came in the last quarter of 2018.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like almost a year of like, I mean, I had a couple deals came through that like we were able to survive on, but dude, I remember my bank account being like, I think I had $500 to my name at one point. And
Mm,
like, well, I might have to go back to the prison. So
wow.
I agree with you when you say, don't quit cold turkey. If you have something that's steady, a steady income, I think you should also work it part-time until you get some experience and then transfer over. So, but that's hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, it is for sure. Well, so hopefully, people that are listening to this that are gonna make that move to give this a go, uh, they heed that advice, especially if you have a family, like you said, stress, the stress on the family.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was just, I mean, we didn't have kids at the time. It was just me and my wife. But even then it's still stressful. So,
Yeah.
but so let's go back and so you quit, you transferred, started doing it full time. So what happened then once you started focusing all your efforts on overages?
Yeah, well, even though like I remember, I think it was December of 2021, even though we hadn't seen a paycheck because I think our first deal was December of 2021 that we actually signed. I just saw like some positive things like, hey, we're actually sending out agreements to people and like some of them are considering signing and oh, we actually signed one. And here's what that could mean from a financial perspective. It was like, holy crap, like this could be significant.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know, it was fun. It was kind of addicting to like, who am I going to call next and who's gonna what's going to happen? We just don't know. Like, are they going to sign? Are they not going to sign? And to be, again, candid on this, like I had an experience of contacting people, calling people, texting people. So I did not have a fear of reaching out. Yeah, there were some people that are jerks and, tell you to screw off and all those kind of different things. But I was willing to make the phone calls and face that rejection. I think that was an advantage that I did have. Um, but I say one of the best things that we did, Nick, was, and I don't know if this is a program that you still have available, but do you still have the program where you people can hop on once a week with you for your like higher level coaching?
Yep.
Yeah, that was a huge deal for us because like going through a course is one thing, but having somebody help you implement and be able to ask questions is so much more important than I think most people realize.
Yeah.
So whatever that costs now, I would recommend doing that if you're serious about going through the business because we were able to ask you things. It's like we saw this in the course, we've tried it this way, but like there seems to be some sort of disconnect with us actually implementing this. What do you see here? That was a huge deal for
Yeah.
us. And then one of the things that sped things up for us too was when we joined your gold program and like pretty much anything you put out we bought
Yeah.
um but getting access to like a list of attorneys so we could expand to other states definitely was something that put some gas on the fire for us too to really expand to different states have more leads be able to work different states. That was a big deal.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I think the it's funny, it always surprises, well, I don't know. The coaching program I get, like a lot of people don't like to do that because it's more of a recurring subscription. But I think the value comes in from what you said. The nice thing about that is you can bring specific problems that you're facing with in your business, or like people can bring specific deals or cases that I can then review with them and say, okay, here's what you need to look at, or here's maybe something you missed, or here's exactly how you do the research on this particular county. And I think that's where it's valuable because every county is a little bit different. Every state's different, and at least you can get some specialized feedback from those calls. And I think it's a good deal. I mean, they're pretty affordable, but
It's it's an it's an amazing deal. It's like I don't know. It's like how much do you want to bang your head against the wall trying to figure some of that stuff out on your own, especially if it's something that's like a not a strength of yours. Like for me, research and doing stuff with the counties and doing all that stuff, like I'm not a fan of doing that. That's not something one of my wheelhouses. So to learn from somebody on how to do that, and then ultimately we ended up bringing in some different people that we could outsource that to, so they could take care of those type of things because they liked doing it. They were good at it. That was another thing that helped with the trajectory of the business to just be more fun, be more profitable. Um, I mean, I don't know. I just look at like some of the programs that you have, and it's like you sign one or two deals, and they go through. Like you just paid for everything, and now you have the skill set that you can do this, and you can do this from anywhere around the world. That's the cool part. Like we've worked with family members that travel to different parts of the world, and they're able to do this while they're on vacation, or while they're at different parts of the country. I mean, I don't know. When you look at overages kind of as a whole, yeah, there's for sure work involved. Yeah, there's for sure like parts of it that is not that much fun. Just like anything, one of my mentors used to always say, something's got to suck. No matter what you're doing, there's going to be a piece of it that you don't like or it's not that much fun. But like the fact that you can put forward a certain amount of effort or hours and get a outsized return on your effort as far as like what kind of deal can come back, it's attractive. It's attractive. And to me, it's something that is worth getting good at. It was been a huge blessing in my life the last 3 years. I'll just say that.
yeah. Well, and if that's the case, then that means that you've also been a huge blessing for a lot of people as well.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. It's a good way to look at it. Yeah, we've helped a lot of people recover funds. Some of the stories are so interesting. Um, One that we did earlier this summer was very interesting. So without going into all the details, so there was multiple heirs involved, and this trustee required that all heirs were signed up in order to be able to do the thing. And there's one of the guys, he was a drug addict. We were able to eventually find him. He signed the papers wrong. And by the time we realized that, he had gone back to prison. So we had to track him down after that, track him down. So long story short, we were able to get it done. And one of the other heirs was like, hey, thank you so much for getting this done, because if you guys hadn't tracked him down and figured out how to work with him to get all these things signed, like I wouldn't have my portion of the money right now. So there's some interesting conversations that go along with that. But yeah, a lot of people are happy about it. Had another one not that long ago. This guy was just ultra skeptical that this was real, which that's one of the most common things I think is people just don't believe that it's real. But up until the point where he actually cashed the check and it went through his bank account, he was skeptical about every single part of the process. But he gave an amazing review that like he didn't believe it was real, and yes, we did everything we said we would, and they deposited the funds, and just like super super grateful. And he had no idea that there would be money for him there. It was another airship case. So I like those ones the best, I think. Ones where people had zero idea that something even existed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those ones are always challenging for sure, but they can be super rewarding. If you wouldn't mind, talk to me about it. Sounds like so you started out with a partner, and I imagine you guys were doing everything yourself in the beginning, but you mentioned that you started to outsource things to family members or people. Could you maybe talk on that process? Because I think that's where a lot of people get stuck in the business is they never get out of the doing everything themselves piece of it. Like, what are some things that helped you kind of start outsourcing and kind of work on the business more than working in the business, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think it all started with going through, I think you did some sort of summit that we joined and paid for. And you talked about just the idea of starting to do some of those different things. So we started to look into people that could research for us, people that could do lead generation for us, um, people that could call and do all those things, contact. Um, so I think the idea of that, like in the beginning, it was like doing everything, and that can be overwhelming because there's so many facets to the business. It can be done for sure. We did that,
Yeah.
but it's way more fun when you're focusing on the things that give you the highest return on your attention, and pay other people to do the things that you don't enjoy doing as much or just not as good at. So, um, yeah, if I could have done that sooner, probably would have. Also, at the same time, it was like bootstrapping to get started and not having a ton of resources to get things to pay other people to do it. But there's creative ways to be able to do that too. Like there's creative ways where you can pay people a percentage of a deal as opposed to paying them up front. So there's creative ways to be able to get that done, I think.
Yeah. Do you think it was an advantage for you, though, to be able to go through the entire process yourself before
Yeah.
seeing pieces?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because then I could train other people on certain parts of it for sure. Um, yeah, it was an advantage to know how the ins and outs of it worked.
Yeah. I imagine too, you were able to better evaluate someone's work and determine very fast if they're going to be a good fit or not.
You said it. Yeah,
Not to
spot
put
on.
words in your mouth, but
Spot on.
no, I wanted to kind of highlight that point because I know one of the attractive things about this business for a lot of people is much of the work can be outsourced to other people. Like it's you can really run an automated business at some point, but I think people try to skip the step of learning how to do it themselves. And if you don't learn how to do it yourself, how can you hire someone to do it for you? Or how can you evaluate their performance? So I think it's
Yeah.
even though it sucks and it's painful, that beginning piece of going, doing everything, I think there's a lot of value in that. So I just wanted to highlight that for people.
Yeah, it's very true. I was listening to somebody the other day and they said if you're doing everything inside of your business, you're not a business owner, you're just a high paid salesperson.
Yeah.
And that kind of hit me hard. I was like earlier on, I was doing so many of the different things. I'm just a high paid salesperson. I'm not a true business owner. So figuring out how to put some of those systems in place and outsource certain things, to make it so it's more of a lifestyle type of business. So you're not doing everything all the time, everywhere.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a process too. And I'll say that going from because I've gone through the employee to high paid salesman to business owner, and I think I stayed in the high paid salesman for a very long time, much longer than I should have. But I think it's important to go through all of the phases, um, just so you have that experience and that knowledge to be able to build off of.
For sure.
So awesome, awesome, man. Man, that's quite the journey. So where are you at right now? Like what are some of the results you've seen like within the last month or sorry, the last 12 months or something like that? Is it
Um,
lifestyle business for you now?
yeah. And you know, so the last 3 years, yeah, it's right around 3 years. I think overages was large in part so to give you a little bit more context, so I was part of a travel company that did really well for 12, 13 years, and then 2020 happened, and then company went bankrupt. So I had to really reinvent myself and figure out what I was going to pour my effort into that was going to provide for my family, but also not work 60 hours a week and be gone so my kids don't see me. Um, so overages was just a huge godsend from that standpoint to be able to have flexibility, the income, all those kind of different things. And I think more than anything, it's not more than anything. But I look at overages as a huge stepping stone, I think, for me during those 3 years until I went to do the next thing or focus on the next thing. Um, and so you asked me what the last 12 months have looked like, so I didn't mean to get ahead of things right there. But I guess my question would be like results wise, like recoveries, like amount of recoveries, amount of deals that have paid out, like what kind of results
Sure.
to get a little more specific.
Yeah, I mean, if you have that off the top of your head, that's cool to share. And then, but maybe in addition to any numbers, like it sounds like to me you're to a point now where the business is running that you now have a level of freedom that you can go do other things.
Right.
Unless unless I misunderstand.
No,
Okay.
no, that's right. It allowed me to, in a big way, get back on my feet from some different challenges that I had previously in business. And when you can have more freedom and flexibility and income, all those things, then you can be more creative. Um, you can be more creative. I think you can see things from a different level as opposed to coming at it from a sense of like, I have to make this happen. Otherwise, there's going to be some very severe consequences for my family versus, hey, it's off the ground and running. And now like I can look at, different opportunities to level up in this area, or I really like doing this thing. Let me see if I can explore that a little bit and not from like a shiny object type of perspective. Um, but I remember you talking about early on, like some people do overages and then they go on to do something else after that. And man, the last 3 years has been a huge blessing. And I think I'm at the point where it's like pivot, see what other opportunities are out there, real estate wise, maybe play a game in a not at a bigger level, but just different opportunities to acquire assets as opposed to just close deals, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
absolutely.
So yeah, it's given us the ability to do that. Um, let's see. This year so far, we've had 49 cases pay out,
Wow.
with probably, I don't know, a couple, probably another 15 that'll pay out before the end of the year.
That's huge. That's awesome, man.
We
That's
put in the work, put in the work.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it wouldn't have been out here, wouldn't have gotten to that point without plugging into really all that you put out. I know you can just do the course or just do that, but if somebody's really wanting to like turn this into a six-figure type of income, I would plug into everything that Nick's got. And we didn't talk about that beforehand. That's just my real feedback.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, man. Well, I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, you did the work though, so I can put out the information, but if you don't use the information, then it's not very valuable.
Well, isn't
But
that the case in anything though?
yeah, but if you use the information, it's extremely valuable. So, I mean,
What do
obviously,
you see, Nick, as the reason that people either don't start to don't start at all, or that they end up failing, for lack of a better term?
that's a really good question. And that actually, I'm glad you asked that because that brings me back to something you said earlier, where you didn't go through the whole course before you started calling people. And I think that's the right way to do it, to be honest with you. Because the way I laid out the program is you learn a section, right? And then there's some action steps that you need to take. There's a little checklist at the end of each section. One of the big mistakes I see people make is they don't do the action steps. They just keep going through each
Mm.
module and they want to know everything before they do anything. And that's a big mistake because yes, the course allows you to learn and know the steps, but also understand that much of your learning is going to come from actually doing and implementing. And so I think I would imagine that's actually a key to your success is you didn't have to know everything before you got started. You just had to know enough.
Yeah, I was willing to. was willing to fail. I was willing to look stupid, mess it up for sure.
And
Which, yeah,
and I think that's another mistake people make is they want to try to avoid that completely, but there is no avoiding that 100%. You can take all of the courses out there, you can take all of the trainings, watch all of the YouTube videos, like get as much knowledge as possible. You're still going to make mistakes. You're
yeah,
still going to lose deals. Uh, that's just part of the game. It's just part.
hmm
People are going to say no to you. There is no way to avoid that 100%. And I think people try to find that magic button of how can I get all of the good without any of the bad? It doesn't exist.
yeah.
It doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't. I mean, we even had a case earlier this year where, some attorneys work on contingency, some attorneys pay them up front, just depending on. We paid for a case where the person lied to us about who they were, and so they were not entitled to funds. We paid for the case. We did out the money. So it's like maybe I should have done a little bit more digging and research on that potentially. But sometimes like that type of stuff happens.
Yeah, weird stuff happens. Yeah, you make mistakes, and you learn from them though too. Like sometimes it's painful and sometimes it's expensive,
Hmm.
but it makes you that much better in the long run. So
Agreed.
I think that's the biggest thing is wanting to know everything before doing anything. Big mistake. Not starting soon enough. And then a lot of people will get stuck in certain aspects of the business. Like a lot of people will get so addicted to gathering leads that they never actually end up calling anyone or sending any letters or anything. Or people get caught up in the research part and the skip tracing and they find out they go down these rabbit holes of these people's life story, which is very easy to do, but then they get stuck and they never move to the next step.
Yeah. Well, you
Or
got your researcher program now, so you help everybody solve that.
yeah, yep, yep, that's
Smart.
yeah, it's but even then people I still have to remind people don't go down the rabbit hole.
For
But
sure. I think you got to figure out the things that are going to actually give you a return on your time and your attention.
yeah,
Like, but yeah, it's easy to get caught up in some of that stuff. I agree.
yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing is just not getting started soon enough or getting stuck. A lot of people also too, I'll see, hey, I got to get a website set up, I got to get my LLC. And like it takes them months to do those things when it shouldn't. You can get
Uh,
an LLC set up in a day. If you outsource a website, you can get it done in a couple days. But people just get stuck in these. They like to play business. They don't like to do business. So
yeah.
those are some other mistakes I think people make.
Hmm.
And then there's this shiny object syndrome. I mean, there's always another opportunity. There's always another way to make money, and there will never be a shortage of those opportunities, I think. And I've fallen victim to this as well, where I'm like, I started one thing, and then I heard about another thing, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go do this thing, and then, but what happens is you're just restarting. You're starting from scratch over and over and over again when you do that, and I think a lot of people suffer from that.
Yeah. It's easy, right? There's especially with social media, it's like, well, this person's doing that, this person's doing this. The thing that with overages, and I don't know exactly why I felt this way. It was probably just because of talking to you on that original interview, it just felt like you weren't hyping anything up. There's so much crap out there too that looks good, but it just doesn't. I don't know if it doesn't work, but there's some stuff that doesn't work. There's some stuff that's fly by night. There's some stuff that the attractive thing about overages for for me was like this if you do the thing, like it's a very simple process, as you always say. If you just do the thing, it's gonna work.
Yeah.
Like not every single time, not perfectly, not you're not gonna have challenges, but like this is a proven thing that works. And so like if you actually want to get good at something worth getting good at, where you can have some flexibility and some freedom and still, sign deals and provide potentially some significant income, depending on how many leads you want to work, it's there. It's
Yeah.
there. And I think for that person that's looking for that, something that's it's not a I hope this works. It's not this fancy little technology crypto project, trading bot type of thing. It's like, no, this works. If you're looking for something that's reliable that works, overages is one of many things that's out there, but it's definitely one of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's funny too, because when people hear about overages, it's new to them and they think it's a new thing. But I've met people that were doing overages in the 80s.
Wow.
Like overages has been around for a very long time. I think it will continue to be around for many years. Um, yeah, so it's one of those, it's not a well-known service-based business, but it is a service-based business that's real and exists and can work for someone who does the work.
Yep. Yep. Well, you've shown that. Anybody just needs to go to your Facebook page or your website to see all the people posting checks in there and testimonials and all that kind of stuff. It's cool to see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been crazy, man. It's been a wild ride for sure, but there is a lot of, I mean, even in the overages space, there is some crap out there too. So
Shady characters, you mean?
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. If anything, that is something that will, if this business does go away, it will be because of shadiness, unethical practices, um, criminal practices, basically. And maybe and that's probably been around forever too.
Yeah.
I just see it more now than I have before.
Mm.
Um, And I don't know if that's just because of the time I have or if it's easier to find that stuff online or social media and stuff like that. You hear about it.
Yeah. I don't know. The attorneys that I've talked to, you know, earlier this year is like they see more of that happening too.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're wrong. But it gives you the opportunity in this business, like if you're going to be one of the people who does it right and are straight up with people and do it the way it should be done, like that's a way to make yourself stand out. Um, yeah, we saw somebody that were, I think it was about 80,000 in surplus funds that were there, and then basically they were offered something like 15 or 20,000 for that, but they didn't know, like people are trying to get them to think this is the money first, just assign us your rights. We're not going to tell you how much money is actually there. Like see some stuff like that more frequently than I would like to see.
Yeah. I've seen that game as well. It's interesting too, it seems to be more prevalent in certain states, like Georgia is a bad one. California, it's really bad.
Mm,
I've seen it in Texas too, but yeah, but to your point though, if you do it right, and if you do it legit, you have a good reputation, I think it does make it easier in the long run. Um, because at the end of the day, like I think the biggest obstacle that we have to overcome is the skepticism piece, right? Like you already mentioned it. People just don't believe it's real. And I think that's a unique obstacle in this business versus other businesses, specifically service-based businesses. Because, like, if you run a service and you're trying to sell it, people understand what it is. Like, if you're trying to mow lawns, they know, yeah, okay, you want to mow my lawn for X amount of dollars. Cool. Oh, you want to wash my windows. You want to detail my car. You want to fix my plumbing. Like, people know that they know what you're up to. Cool. With our business, when we talk to someone like, hey, you're owed a refund or you're owed some money, they're like, what are you talking about? Like, that does not make sense. I lost my house to a foreclosure. How can I be owed money? what type of scam are you trying to pull on me is what
Hmm.
and I don't think people vocalize it. Some people do, but I think the vast majority don't. But they're thinking it. They're thinking it. And so I think that's what makes this business challenging is you have to overcome, you actually have to educate people and help them realize that the service you're offering is actually a real service.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's like you know that better than anybody, but we've experienced that as well. Um, a couple things for people that are already in overages, a couple things that worked for us. And I know this is giving some stuff away, but uh, one of the things that kind of helped was we would actually tell people, hey, like whether you choose to use us or not, we're happy to help provide resources or at least have a conversation about what the process can look like. Whether you use us, whether you go use another company or you decide to recover on your own. And it was interesting the response that we got as far as a number of people that decided to work with us because we were willing to help them, even if they were going to go a different direction. Um, and then the other thing we started basically saying was like, hey, most of the the claimants, people like yourself who sign up with us, they were really skeptical in the beginning and they didn't understand anything about the process. So like you are like most of our people that we work with, they were the exact same way as you. So that seemed to put people at ease a little bit and be like, okay, I'm not crazy for not thinking this is real. Like most people start out this way. So a couple little I don't know, bonus tips for people that are already building the business or going to.
yeah, absolutely. No, that's good stuff for sure. Awesome, man. Any I don't want to take up too much more of your time today. I appreciate you again for hopping on here.
The least I can do, man.
Yeah.
You've done so much. You literally have. So anything I can do to help. Continue. I cut you off.
No, you're good. I was just going to say any other tips or advice you might have for someone who's in the business and or starting the business to help them be successful.
Mm. I think if there was something that I did well personally, it was just be super, super consistent.
Mm.
Just I was in the game. We had different people that worked with us, kind of like associates, and some would get really good results working with us, and then some would just like not do anything for a month or a few months, and it was like challenging for them to kind of get back in the game. Um, I just done it consistently for 36 months, month in, month out. Whether it was like a really good month, like number of signed deals was like, man, this is awesome, or it was like I worked just as hard this month, but I didn't sign quarters as many of the deals. Just staying consistent. I think if you can do that, I learned that from a mentor in a previous business. Like consistency is like I might not be good at anything else, but I'll show up every day and I'll do the basic activities. And if I do that long enough, he always used to talk about the rock and the stream, the battle between the rock and the stream. The stream always wins, even though the rock's stronger. The stream is just relentless and shows up every single day and does things consistently. I think that's probably a boring answer, and that's not like a, oh my gosh, that's some profound type of thing, but that's his
I got
looking back, that's what happened.
Dude, that's that analogy between the rock and the stream. I got goosebumps hearing that.
Mm, yeah,
I think that
it's
is
a good one. It's not mine, but yeah, it was a good one.
yeah, that is a good one. No, I think out of the people that have had the most success, I think that is the num if there's a key to it or a secret to success in one word, that is it, and that is consistency. They're just incredibly consistent at doing the money-making activities, just
Yeah,
reaching out, having conversations, letting people know, hey, we're here, you've got this money, we can help you, let us keep us in mind or whatever. And yeah, that consistency is, I think that's the key.
yeah,
It's simple, but it's also difficult to implement, like anything, like anything.
yeah. I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy to stay consistent because again, there's all these other opportunities always. There's going to be times where deals fall through or people aren't nice or you run into you run into some sort of a wall. I mean, I knew nothing about real estate when I started Overages, like almost nothing. And so like for me, even like a lot of the terms were kind of overwhelming. Like the heck is probate or intestate succession laws or
Yeah.
all these terms of like what and I was definitely I was overwhelmed and was like, oh, I don't know if I can actually get good at this because like that part was overwhelming to me. So like when you hit that piece that's overwhelming or seems like, am I going to get this or it's challenging, like just see if you can push past that and then see what happens. Just go one more day.
Yep. That's gold advice, man. That's golden. Thank you. That's awesome. Well, Brian, thank you so much, man. I think we'll wrap it up unless you have anything else you want to share with anyone.
It's been a great conversation. I would just reiterate, I'm sure there's two different types of people that are looking at this. There's people that are, or that's just my imagination, is that there's people who haven't started the course yet or haven't started overages, and then there's people who have that are in it that are doing it. Um, I would say for the people who are considering doing it, um, I would say consider the things that we've already talked about in this conversation. Is like if you're looking for something that really does work, where there is a system on how to make it work, and there's proof that it works if you work. And there's so many different types of people that are making this business work, whether it's they're sending out mail, at the nights after they get off work, or like business owners that have decided to go do this full time. Like, you know, type of people that are winning here with a system that works. It's just a matter of making a decision and say, I'm going to commit to actually doing this thing for 6 months or a year. Like, give it some time to actually work because it takes some time. And then the people that are in the business already, I don't know if I have any. Here's would be my advice. If you feel stuck at all, I would plug into all of Nick's stuff. I would literally buy everything that he puts out because it's gonna shorten the learning curve and it's gonna help you get past obstacles that you might not get past on your own. I, if we hadn't done some of your stuff, Nick, like after we had bought the course, I don't know if we'd gotten past some of those different things and it wouldn't have turned into what it turned into. So um, just sharing that for what it's ever it's worth, man. You've been so great to work with. We've done a lot of JVs with you. We've probably done more JVs with you than most people out there, I would guess. Um, maybe I'm wrong in that. I don't know.
A couple,
Um,
but no, for sure. We've done a ton of JVs. Yes.
yeah. Um, because we wanted to learn from you on different things, like how this work. And so, splitting those deals we were happy to do because we got to learn from you. So just grateful, man. Life 3 years ago was in a very challenging place for me personally. And this business uh, gave life to my family, allows me to spend time with my kids. And I'm just grateful, man. So thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate you, Brian. Thanks so much.